Sparks at the field house tonight, Clark day-to-day with that back, and Kelsey Mitchell coming off 30. Suddenly, who closes for Indiana isn't theory anymore. If you're just joining, Indiana's injury watch is still centered on Caitlin Clark's recurring back problem. Add Aliyah Boston's lower leg concern and the hardship contract depth issues, and the availability squeeze gets real fast. Clark leaving the Phoenix loss with a back injury made her next status update the immediate fever question, not just a box score footnote for a team trying to stabilize its rotation.
This is all connected. The front office stepping in, White's tirade, and an 8-9 Sparks team walking into a game Indiana has to have. Let's get to it. If Fever's star injury watch matters to you, hit follow. We'll be back on it soon.
Eagle Herald writes,
Los Angeles Sparks, 8-9, 5-5 Western Conference. At Indiana Fever, 10-8, 5-4 Eastern Conference. Indianapolis, Saturday, 8 p.m. EST. Bottom line. Indiana Fever host the Los Angeles Sparks after Kelsey Mitchell scored 30 points in the Indiana Fever's 111-109 loss to the Phoenix Mercury. The Fever are 7-4 on their home court.
Saturday, 8 p.m. The LA Sparks come into Indy at 8-9, and the Fever are 10-8, 7-4 at home. After 2 straight losses, this is the catchable game you don't let slip.
And Mitchell's coming off 30 in that 111-109 heartbreaker. She showed up as the closer. It still wasn't enough on a 2-point night.
Update on the injury watch. Clark's day-to-day with the back. So tonight's lineup question is simple. Does she suit up? And if she does, how many minutes?
And here's the thing that gets me. LA puts up 8.6 threes a game, nearly 2 more than Indiana usually allows. The perimeter defense is the matchup.
Indiana took the first meeting 87-78 back on May 14th. Clark had 24 that night. Different roster rhythm now, but the series edge is theirs. Here's Zachary Weinberger at Clutch Points.
Player safety should be paramount in our league, Krauskopf said in a statement released via the team's social media account on Thursday. We appreciate the WNBA's review of last night's incident and the action taken. Right now, our focus is on Caitlin and our entire team as we prepare for Saturday.
Different voice this time. All week it's been Stephanie White at the podium, players on social. Now it's Kelly Krauskopf, the team president, putting out a formal statement. The front office stepping in is a real escalation.
And look at the sequence. Krauskopf says player safety should be paramount, calls it out publicly, and then the league hands Thomas a 1-game suspension. That order matters.
It does. The statement thanks the WNBA for the review and the action, then pivots straight to, focus is on Caitlin and the whole team prepping for Saturday. That last clause is the tell. They want this back on the floor.
Right, our entire team, not just Clark. Even the statement is managing the Clark as symbol thing. But she exited with a back issue in the second half. So, focus is on Caitlin is also literal. Is she playing tonight or not?
That's the unanswered piece. Availability and minutes against an 8-9 Sparks team. Winnable home game, and Indiana can't let it slip while the noise eats the oxygen. From Paolo Mariano at Clutch Points.
It was egregious, the fact that it was a no call. I heard about it at halftime. I brought it to the attention of the officials. You gotta call it. It's absolutely egregious and utterly disrespectful, said White in the post-game conference, as quoted by the Indianapolis Star's Chloe Peterson. I mean, a fist in the throat is crazy. It's crazy. It's dangerous.
White finally said the thing out loud. Thomas put a fist in Clark's throat in the second quarter, no call, and the coach called it egregious and utterly disrespectful postgame.
The detail that lands for me is the timeline. White says she heard about the throat shot at halftime, brought it to the officials, and still nothing. By post-game, she'd already escalated it in-game and felt ignored.
Right, and then Clark exits at 5:15 in the third with the back. You let her get hammered, she leaves, and you lose by 2 on a Lexi Hull turnover with 2 seconds left. Of course, White unloaded.
And that's the coaching voice. By today, the front office decided it needed its own statement. The organization climbed a level, beyond White venting after a loss.
Kelsey Mitchell just dropped 30. Defenses are still loading up on Caitlin Clark, and Aliyah Boston is shooting 42.9% from three. So honestly, who should Indiana be running the ball through in the clutch right now?
Honestly, it's one of the more interesting tactical questions with this team, because the answer is probably all three in that order, based on what the defense gives you. But there is a hierarchy. Stephanie White has publicly called Clark the top offensive option, and Clark's been clear about what she wants. After Indiana's overtime win over Chicago, she said, quote, "The more two-man action we can get, the better," specifically talking about the pick and roll and dribble handoff actions she runs with Boston. White even compared that Clark-Boston pairing to Stockton and Malone per SI, so you know where the philosophy is. The wrinkle is Boston's three-point shooting. She's hitting 42.9% from deep on 2.6 attempts a game per SI, and defenses can't just sag off her in pick-and-roll coverage anymore. That opens the floor for exactly the kind of late-game actions Clark is asking for. Mitchell, meanwhile, works as the pressure release valve, the guard who punishes the defense for what Clark and Boston create. A 30-point game is often the product of that, not despite it.
So if Clark's the trigger and Boston's the co-star in those two-man actions, is Mitchell actually better served coming off that system instead of being handed a designed role as the closer?
Yeah, and that lines up with how Yahoo Sports framed Mitchell's value. Boston and Clark may be the cornerstones, but Mitchell is described as the rock, someone whose impact comes through the consistency and pressure she creates, more than through design sets. Now watch whether Stephanie White leans into that three-player ecosystem more deliberately late, because Indiana's had some blown lead issues, and Boston herself said closing games doesn't always have to be pretty. That tells you the staff knows the closing execution still needs work. If the Clark-Boston two-man game is the engine, Mitchell staying ready in those pitch-and-catch spots off the action might be the most dangerous version of this offense.
If you're into this daily fever check-in, try Angel City Daily Podcast, a daily ACFC supporter briefing covering match reaction, NWSL standings, roster moves, women's soccer in Los Angeles, and supporter buzz. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts. What we're watching next. Indiana hosts Los Angeles tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern in Indianapolis, with Caitlin Clark's back status the key availability checkpoint. And Alyssa Thomas is set to serve her one-game suspension in Phoenix's June 27 matchup against the Toronto Tempo. You'll find links to every story we mentioned in the show notes if you want to dig further into anything that caught your ear. That's Indiana Fever Daily Podcast for today. This is a Lantern Podcast.